Okay, so tonight we're going to be doing the beginning of Sefer Zechariah, and then next week we'll continue with that. Last week we did Sefer Chagai. It was 2 Perakim, but we did the whole Sefer of Chagai. And if you remember, Chagai is talking at the time period of what's called Shivat Zion, when the Jews are returning from Bavel, from their Galut in Bavel to Yerushalayim, to Eretz Israel to rebuild the second temple. Zechariah also prophesizes at the same time as Chagai. We'll see it inside because they give specific dates and time periods of which kings they are. But if you remember, if you were here, Chagai talks about the people being unsure of rebuilding. Hashem has to convince the people to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. They have worries. They say, maybe we're not good enough. Why are we going to rebuild? We're not going to achieve. It's not going to be as great as the first one. But Hashem says, no, just do it. You have to consider your ways. Check what you're doing now. Check your priorities, because you're building your own houses. You're building your own societies, but you're not building a house for me. You're focused just on attaining your own wealth, but not achieving what's priority, what's important, the Beit HaMikdash. So Hashem says, put your worries aside. Consider your ways. Focus on the right priorities. Build my house. And just do it. That was Chagai's message. Build the Beit HaMikdash. Because we saw, even now, it's over 70 years from the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash. We had, the history is, the Koresh, king of Cyrus, the king of Persia, originally allowed Bnei Israel to go and return to build the Beit HaMikdash. They didn't. We saw that was the time of Ezra. They really didn't. Then there was a pause. Now we're up to the king Darius, and Darius pushes and allows Bnei Israel to return to go and rebuild. And now we have to get that push. Zechariah keeps in line with that message of rebuilding the temple, but he also tries to make sure that Bnei Israel are keeping their priorities in check. What's interesting about Zechariah and what's unique about Zechariah, he has many visions. He has, throughout the Perakim of Zechariah, he has many different types of visions, that some of them you'll see or stick out to us today that are reverberating to us. However, some of them are very complicated and very ambiguous and confusing. Okay, so we'll go through it. Just so you know, the Rambam, when he talks about Maimonides, when he talks about Nivuah, he says Zechariah is the lowest form of Nivuah. Of the Nevi'im, he is the lowest of the Nevi'im, and we'll see why. We'll see how he gets that from here. But we see now it's towards the end of Shivat Zion. Sorry, it's the time of Shivat Zion, the end of Zman of Nevuah, the waning of Nevuah. And we'll see what that is and how that entails. Okay? Questions before I open up the text? No? Good. All right. Feel free to ask any questions you would like. All right. So, okay. And I'm just rearranging so I see you guys also. All right. So, Zechariah. בחודש השמיני בשנת 2 לדריווש היה דבר השם אל זכריה בן ברכיה בן עידו הנביא לאמור. Okay, so the Navi tells us exactly when this is taking place. It's taking place in the 8th month. What's the 8th month? Sonny's using his fingers. That's good.
Sivan.
So if you remember, this is talking from, we start from Nisan. Okay, we start from Nisan. So this is Cheshvan.
You also started with the Ch.
Cheshvan, right? Cheshvan. So we always start with, when we're talking about kings, we always start with Nisan, and it's Cheshvan. And Jacob asked last week, why don't they tell us the actual month's name, right? Because I said different reasons. One, the actual names weren't codified yet, as we know it. Cheshvan, as you see, it's not here. But also, they called it that month. It was called Chodesh Hashmini. You knew the Chodesh Hashmini is that month. So that was the name of the month. Now, when is this taking place? Again, this is the second year of Dayavish, the same exact year that opened up Sefer Chagai. So they're prophesizing the same exact time period. second year of the Yavesh. And who's talking? Zechariah ben Berchiah ben Ido Hanavi. So we see this is also a family of Nevi'im. Ido, there was the Navi also, so it's a family of Nevuah, but we'll see that Zechariah doesn't have a high level of Nevuah. So Hashem starts out by saying, Ketzef Hashem al avodechem, Ketzef. There's a repetition, Lashon of El Lashon, repetition of this word, Ketzef, which means angry. Hashem was angry at our forefathers. Angry at our forefathers. Why? Because again, they left him. They, even in Bavel, they forgot about him, and they caused the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the first Beit HaMikdash, and he was angry. However, this is Al Avotechem, I was angry at your forefathers, but you, it's a bit different now. And he says, V'amarta lehem komar Hashem tzvaot, shuvu elai nu'um Hashem tzvaot, v'shuv alechem emar Hashem tzvaot. You see Zechariah often repeats words. So here he's using Hashem tzvaot 3 times actually in this pasuk, and he says, return to me and I will return to you. Remember, that's how it works. That's how tshuva works. If you return to me, I will return to you, and I am ready, Hashem is saying, to return to you. Now we're going back to build the second Beit HaMikdash, back to Yerushalayim. I am there for you again. Al to you, don't be like your forefathers, asher karu alehem hanevim haroshinim lemor, like the earlier Nevi'im said, Kol amar Shem tzvot, shuvu na midrachem haraim aloichem haraim, lo shamu v'lo hakshiva elai nu'um Hashem. Don't be like your forefathers. I told them to return to me, and they didn't. They kept on doing their bad ways, and they did not listen to me. It's very interesting enough. Look what words he used. He uses the word Nevi'im Rishonim. Who is he referring to in these Nevi'im Rishonim? First of all, who do we associate Nevi'im Rishonim with? That's an easier question.
That's with Yoshua and then all the Shofetim.
Right.
Nevi'im, Shemuel.
Right. So Yoshua, Shoftim, good. Shmuel, even Melachim. But interesting enough, this is not what he's referring to, right? He's referring to Nevi'im Rishonim here of Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, Yecheskel. Our notion of Nevi'im Rishonim is Yoshua, Shoftim, etc. But we see that's only our notion. That's a much later notion of what's Nevi'im Rishonim and Nevi'im Achronim in terms of thematic. But in terms of here, the Nevi'im Rishonim, Zechariah is referring to Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Yecheskel, who prophesied about the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash. I'm getting just some feedback. Joey, I'm going to mute you. Okay, Joey Bond. But unmute yourself if you want to say something.
My bad. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So we just started Zechariah. He said he is going with the concept of returning back to Yerushalayim. Hashem says, come back to me, unlike your forefathers. Just like the Nevi'im Rishonim, I sent Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, Yecheskel to talk about all the things that they should have done, and they didn't listen, and there was a destruction. So listen to them. Pasuk Hey. Avdochem ehem, v'nevi'im halo'am yichyu. He asks a question now. Where are your fathers now? Where are they? They were in Bavel. They were sent out of Yerushalayim. They were sent out of Eretz Yisrael. Because the Beit HaMikdash were destroyed. In the Nevi'im, their message, their same message, is that going to live forever? Meaning, the message, do I have to continually to send Nevi'im to say the exact same message over and over and over again? Return to me, come back to my ways, follow my ways? No, you should listen. Get your ways right. Come back to me. I'm ready. Let's go. But he says, Ach divrei v'chukai asher tiviti et avdi hanevi'im halo yasigu avotechem v'yeshuvu v'rmu kasher zamam Hashem tzvot lasot lanu k'derechenu kamenu ken asa itanu. However, they didn't listen, and therefore they didn't listen to the Nevi'im, and therefore I punished them. How? Kasher zamam Hashem tzvot. I punished them just like they were supposed to get punished. Yeah, like the same ones that like they were supposed to get. They got punished how they were supposed to get, and they were pushed out because they didn't listen to me. That's the first message we have of Zechariah. Talking to the people to say, do the right thing now. Don't be like your forefathers. I am ready to return to you. However, you have to return to me. we see that Zechariah is saying this message, obviously, because Bnei Israel are not listening. Bnei Israel are in Bavel. The majority of them are Bavel. They're not returning. They're not going back. They're comfortable in their lives in Galut. And Hashem is saying, let's go. Let's return. Let's focus on what's important. Next, Nivua. B'yom 24 l'ashtei asar chodesh hu chodesh Shvat. B'shnat shtayim l'Daryavesh. Interesting enough, right? This is the 11th month, which is Shvat. So he actually mentions the Chodesh Shvat. So already here we have that Shvat is the 11th month. It also could be a rebuke that Bnei Israel didn't remember that Shvat is in the 11th time. Could be, but this is still the second year of the Daryavesh. This is just a bit later on. And now again, he is saying, Ra'iti halayla. Okay, it starts out Ra'iti halayla. Here I saw at night. Remember I said Zechariah, according to the Rambam, Zechariah is a lower form of Navi. Because we have different, when Nivuah come, right? Who the highest form of Navi was Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was he had multiple differences between him and other Nevi'im. One of them, he actually saw this during the day. He was able to see, Hashem talked to Hashem one-to-one. So, but here we see this is happening at night. Okay, so this is supposedly he's in a dream. We know that because it's at night, obviously you're sleeping at night, so it must be taking place in a dream. And also we're going to see that there's a malach, especially later on. We're going to see that there's a malach involved. Obviously, this is not talking to Hashem directly. There's another intermediary, and there's multiple intermediaries. So we see Zechariah is on a much lower level. But he says, at night, this is the vision he saw. I see a man who's riding on a red horse. He's standing in between the myrtles, different trees in this pool. And behind him, there are other horses of different colors. There's some red horses, srukim. There's a Chazal discuss what kind of color that really is, but it could be a darker red, it could be a black, but different color anyhow, and white horses. The Omar, Ma'ela Adoni, and Zechariah asks, what is this? What do I see? The Omar Alai HaMalach, Hadaver Bi, the Malach who's talking to me, I'll let you know what they are. So we see, so Zechariah again, it's not like he sees it and he could understand it himself. He's that lower level, so he doesn't even fully understand what he is seeing. So he has to ask the Malach to get an explanation of what he is seeing. So what is he seeing? He sees that man who's standing on that horse between the Hadassim. He says, these horses, the other colored horses, are the horses that Hashem sent all around the world. What does that mean? So these horses were sent all around the world to do what? In Pasuk Yud Aleph, it tells us, now these other horse riders say, we went around all the land. We went all around and we saw what? That the whole land is sitting nicely and quietly. So Chazal discuss who and what these horses are and what they represent. Now, there are different ideas of how you could interpret these nivuot and visions. For example, the Abarbanel, he focused on in detail. He tries to figure out what each horse represents, what color each represents. In Shalosh Atonot, you remember all the stories, Shalosh Atonot, and they all have different colors and they represent different things. But so that's where do you think they got this from? So here, these three different horses with three different colors could represent, according to the Abarbanel, they represent different kingdoms, right? You have a dome, which is usually associated with the red dome, and all the Persia, maybe the Shrukim color, and the Lavan is actually Greece. They represent different countries, different kingdoms. However, the Rambam and others say, no, you don't have to look at it so deeply. If you look at the Mashal so deeply, you lose the Nimshal. But also could be, if you think about horses and how horses work, there are different types of horses that are natural to different places in the world, right? You've heard of these Spanish horses or Portuguese horses or Latin American horses, and they're known to be bred based on where they come from. And it happens to be they're different colors also. So it could be not necessarily talking about different kingdoms, but rather different places in the world, different locations of the world. And if you go according to that, we see that they were sent to the different places in the world, and we learn what's happening in the world. Now, Vina Arts Yoshevet Veshoketet. It's quiet, it's tranquil, which means what? We know that during that time period, we know that Persia, Paras, conquered the whole world, and there's not fighting anymore. Obviously, they took over Bavel, and now until later on when Greece takes over, Alexander the Great. But now the world is quiet. So what? So now the world is quiet. There's calmness. You shouldn't be worried about all this craziness happening in the world. Now is a perfect opportunity for Bnei Israel to return to Yerushalayim, to return to Eretz Yisrael, because they don't have to worry about the security situation. Everything's calm. So these horses, these malachim, were sent to check all around the world, and they report back. Everything's quiet. Pasuk Yud Bet, V'yan malach Hashem v'yomar, Hashem tzvot ad mataya, ata lo terechem Yerushalayim, v'et arei Yehuda asher zam'ata zeh 70 shana. So now this malach, very interesting, poses a question to Hashem. This is Zechariah Hassim. How much longer are you going to not be nice to Yerushalayim and Yehuda and place this curse of 70 shana? How much longer are you going to put on them that they're not able to return? Right? These 70 concept years comes from Yirmiyahu, where he says 70 years. He mentions the concept of 70 years. So we have this notion of Zechariah is now using, because obviously he knew about Yirmiyahu, knew about these Nevi'im Rishonim, which we call them, this concept of 70 years. And he says, this malach to Hashem, how much longer does Bnei Israel have to wait outside of Yerushalayim? And what does Hashem respond? V'yan Hashem et malach hadover bid dvarim tovim davrim nechumim. He says nice things. We don't even have from Zechariah what he says. Maybe Zechariah couldn't really understand what the conversation between the malach and Hashem, but he says he heard nice things and comforting things, which means what? Which means Hashem is now comforting. Now he's not taking retribution anymore. He's ready to forgive Bnei Israel and ready for Bnei Israel to return. And he says, "V'yomer Elai hamalach hadover bi kara lemor kol amar Hashem tzavaot kaneti liYerushalayim Yitzion kina gdola." Now I have this jealousness to Yerushalayim, to Tzion. I have this affection to this land. I am returning back to them. I am no longer upset at them. I am ready to come back to them. Now Hashem adds something very interesting here. The ketzef gadol ani ketzef al hagoyim hashaninim asher ani chapatzi me'at vehema azru lera'ah. Hashem is angry. Before, if you remember in the beginning here, we have ketzef Hashem avotechem. Ketzef, he was angry at Bnei Israel, the forefathers who sinned against him. But now we see he's angry at the goyim. These goyim are the ones who helped him destroy Bnei Israel, destroy Eretz Yisrael. The Ashur, Bavel, now Paras is better, but they destroyed him. However, Hashem only wanted them to destroy them a little. However, he says they overdid it. They destroyed it too much, took Bnei Israel out, they were suffering, and now Hashem's going to be angry at them. Therefore, Lachen Komar Hashem, Shavti Yerushalayim berachamim, Beiti beneba, Nu'um Hashem tzvaot, Ve'kav yinte al Yerushalayim. Therefore, now return to Yerushalayim with my rachamim, build my house for me. I am going to forgive you, and I'm going to bring this measuring line to Yerushalayim. We're going to see what this measuring line really means in the next parak. But now he's ready to build up Yerushalayim. And lastly, the last pasuk, Od kara lemor komar Hashem tzvot, Od tefutzuna arai mitov v'nechem Hashem Od etzion lebechar Od b'Yerushalayim. Again, Yerushalayim is going to be blessed. It's going to be overflowing. And there's going to be this comfort in Yerushalayim and Tzion. We have this repetition of the word Yerushalayim, the name of Yerushalayim over and over and over again to make sure that Bnei Israel know that Yerushalayim was the key. Yerushalayim was the place where the Beit HaMikdash was built. If you know a little about this time period as well, when they were returning Yeshivat Zion, the Jews were faced with adversaries in Eretz Yisrael. Who were these adversaries? The Shomronim, the Samaritans. These people believed that they were the rightfully chosen people of Hashem. They kept some of the mitzvot, not all the mitzvot. They kept some of the mitzvot. However, they believed that the Beit HaMikdash should be built in Shechem. They believed that it should be in Samaria. And here, possibly, Zechariah is often using the word Yerushalayim, 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 even though we know we don't have to say it over and over again. We know which city we're going to build it in. He's emphasizing Yerushalayim to say it's not in Shechem, it's not with the Shomronim, but rather in Yerushalayim. That's where the Beit HaMikdash should be built. So we see in the first paragraph of Zechariah, we have the first introduction that Hashem is ready to come back. If we come back to him. And now we have this vision of the horses, that the whole world is at peace. We're able to go back. It's a good time to go back. Good questions on Parak Aleph. No. Okay. Parak Bet. This is a different vision he has. What does Zechariah now see? I raise up my eyes. I see 4 horns. These horns are not necessarily horns on an animal, but rather horns. They were used as military weapons, and it's considered like a battering ram or some sort of artillery that was used to destroy things. It was a weapon of war. And what else does he see? Now he's talking again to this malach who talks to him. What are these horns? These horns, the malach answers, are the ones that destroyed Yehuda, Yisrael, and Yerushalayim. These are the artillery, the weapons that were used to destroy the Beit HaMikdash, to destroy Yerushalayim, to destroy Yisrael. What else does he see now? Va'arini Hashem arba charashim. Now he sees, not only he sees these 4 pranot, but he sees arba charashim. The word charash comes from the word like a smith who deals with metalwork. But we also see this means in different places in Tanakh. We see charashim also mean agricultural items of metal. So as pranot is a military item, charashim are agricultural, the opposite. Okay, so he sees this, and again, he doesn't fully understand this. Zechariah is on, again, this lower level. He doesn't fully understand it, so he has to say, so what are they doing here? What is this all about? And then he says, here are these, sorry, 1 second. A plow, yes, Jacob, thank you. You said a plow. So it's like a plow, right? The charashim are the plows, agricultural items. So what do they to do? These charashim, these plows, who are going now to rain havoc on the kranot. So on the agricultural items, these plows are going to destroy the military items of the kranot. Who could think, I think most of you, what does this remind you of, Sonny?
The prophecy from Yeshaya.
Very good. The prophecy of Yeshayahu, famously on the Isaiah wall outside the UN, right? We have that the plow, the swords, and the spears are going to be turned into plows and pruning hooks. Exactly here, Zechariah is using these Nevi'im Rishonim, just the style of Zechariah I'm pointing out. He's using the same Nevi'im Rishonim, right, of Yirmiyahu we saw before, of the Shivim Shana, Yeshayahu, in this concept, that the agricultural items will take over the military items. And now the world is changing. Now it's going to be a more peaceful world. That Hashem is now taking retribution, and now he's turning the world into a more peaceful place. Very good. Now, remember we saw that kav, that measuring line of Yerushalayim. This is going to come into place. He sees a third thing. He sees a person, he's holding a measuring stick or a measuring tape. He says, where are you going? What are you doing with this? I'm going to measure Yerushalayim. How long it is, how wide it is. Why is he going to measure? Let's see. There's another malach who's coming to greet him, the one who's talking to me. And he goes and tells him, you who just came, you go talk to this Na'ar, meaning Zechariah. He's referring to him as a Na'ar, either as a low-level Navi or a low level compared to the malach, or it could be that he's just young. But this malach is telling him, the malach who's speaking to Zechariah, tells this other malach, go speak to Zechariah. Why? I'm busy. What do I have to do? I have to go measure, right? Remember, I'm here. I have to go measure. Why? Yerushalayim is now going to be so big because it has so many people and so many animals that are going to be living in it. The word prazot is the opposite of the word like choma. Prazot means open. There's different types of cities. There's cities that have walls around it, right? Right, Yerushalayim. But now we're saying Pruzot Teshav Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is going to be like it doesn't have walls because it's going to be so big. The walls can't contain all the people and the animals that are going to return to Yerushalayim. So Chazal asked a question just pointing out, why do we need another malach here? Why did this other malach have to go and talk to Zechariah while this other malach is going to measure? So we have a concept that can't the malach do both, talk and measure at the same time? So it's interesting, Chazal say the malachim only could do one thing at a time. They have one mission to do and they can't do two missions at once. But okay, that's a side note. So we have this, malach is measuring the Yerushalayim because it's going to be so big. There's going to be so many people. He has to know how big to make it. And what else? He says, remember, because now it's going to be without walls, what's going to be that protection of, because you're not going to have walls. So Hashem says, I am going to be chomat esh saviv. I am going to be your wall. I am going to be your protection, as if like the fire protection. Why? This kavod is going to be filling up Yerushalayim. We had this concept many times, like in Yeshayahu, which talks about the kavod maleh of Yerushalayim. Hashem's kavod is going to return and fill up Yerushalayim. So we see it again here that it's taking place. But Hashem says it's going to be filled. If we look at today, even in today's Yerushalayim, we know that the inhabitants of Yerushalayim and the municipality of Yerushalayim extends far beyond the actual old city walls. So this is coming, we see that it's actually came true, that the people of Yerushalayim expanded to outside the wall, and even the municipality of Yerushalayim, there are towns and neighborhoods outside of the walls that are still considered like Yerushalayim today, pay Yerushalayim taxes and etc. So we saw it grow, and Hashem is saying, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to surround you. However, he puts out a warning. Hoi, hoi. However, make sure run away from Eretz Tzafon. Eretz Tzafon, the northern land, possibly Bavel or other places, where you were sent out to. Come back. I swept you away to the four corners of the world. I know that, in the Galut. But come back. Now is the time to come back because we're building up Yerushalayim. It's going to be for all of you, so come back. Hoi Tzion meleti yoshevet bat Bavel. Run away for the people who are in Bavel. And Zechariah is saying this message. You people in Bavel, return. Don't feel comfortable. You're living in Galut. This is your land. You're successful. Times are peaceful. I know, it's great. But focus on what's really important. Come back to Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is the place. Zechariah could be even talking to us today and saying, yeah, we live in America. It's comfortable. It's good. We're at peace. But Hashem is saying, and I know I've sent you out, but now it's peaceful. Now you can come back to Yerushalayim. It could fit everybody. I'm measuring it out. Don't worry. I am going to send my glory all over. And the nations that took spoils from you now, they are going to be punished because whoever touches here it says people are going to touch my eye, which is Bnei Israel, because it's seen as a nice thing, my eye. They are going to be the ones who are going to be punished now. I'm sending out my hand against them. They remember they the ones who took they were the ones who took your spoils. Now you are going to be the ones who are taking their spoils. And you'll know that Hashem's the one in charge. So what should you do now? Roni v'simchi batzion. We know this. We say this. We sing this. Now you should be happy singing. Ki hineh ba'a v'shecheni betochech nu'um Hashem. Because I am going to sit and dwell amongst you. You should be happy. V'nevu go'im rabim el Hashem b'yom ahu v'ayu li la'am v'shechanti betochech v'yedat ki Hashem tzvaot shelchani elech. On that day, all the other nations are going to finally realize it, and they are going to know this, and because I am going to dwell amongst you, and they're going to know that I was sent, and this powerful Hashem is going to be the one in charge, and I am with you. What is he going to add? Hashem et Yudach el admato kodesh b'char od beYerushalayim. Hashem is going to give everybody their portion again, and I'm going to choose Yerushalayim again. Again, he's pushing that Yerushalayim. Has kol basar mifnei Hashem ki noar mimon kadsho. All the people, regular people, be scared, shaken up, because now I am coming back to my land. Now, my people are going to come back. Everybody, let's get our priorities right. Make sure I am ready. You are ready. Let's go back home. That's what he's saying. So in this parak, we have multiple visions, multiple things Zechariah sees, and the main message is we're ready. We're ready to go back. Let's go back. Let's set our priorities right. Let's go back. We have time to do another parak. Let's go. Parak Gimel. Another vision that he sees. Who do we see? Yeshayahu. Yehoshua, sorry. I'm with Yeshayahu. I don't know. It's my head. But Yehoshua. Yehoshua, who is he? We saw him in Chagai. Yehoshua ben Yohatzadak is the Kohen Gadol. At the time, Zerubbabel, remember Zerubbabel is the political leader, and Yehoshua is the spiritual leader in the Kohen. And who does he see? Zechariah now sees Yehoshua. He sees him with who? With name Malach Hashem. He sees the Malach. And we also have the Satan. Now, right head, I know what you're thinking in your picture. You're thinking what we all imagine, the Malach Hashem and the angel and the Satan. We have a little white guy on our shoulders and a little red guy on the other shoulder. But that's not necessarily what it means. The Satan in Tanakh doesn't necessarily mean the devil or the evil person, as Christians often take this from here. It could be also what like a Yetzer Hara is. Yetzer Hara is not some other being, but rather inside you, like an introspection, or rather a reflection of your own being, of your own self, who says the other opinions of certain things. And oftentimes, a Satan is a categor and a sanagor, right? You have the categor and sanagor, the accuser and the defender. So here, the Satan is the one who always accuses in Tanakh, accusing Bnei Israel to show Hashem, look what these people are doing. You shouldn't forgive them. You shouldn't do good to them because they did different things. So we have now this picture of Yehoshua with the Malach and with the Satan, with the accuser and with the Malach, who's supposed to be there to help him. What's the conversation? What's taking place with Yehoshua? V'yom Hashem el ha-Satan, yigar Hashem bacha ha-Satan, yigar Hashem becha ha-bocher b'Yerushalayim, halozeh ud mutzel me'esh. This Malach, or Hashem, says to the Satan, stop accusing Yerushalayim, stop accusing Bnei Israel of all the bad things that they did. Because, however, I now chose them. Yigar Hashem b'cha b'char b'Yerushalayim. I am choosing Yerushalayim now. Why? Halozeh ud mitzel me'esh. This is like a brand plucked with fire. I chose this people. Yes, they did bad things. Yes, Yerushalayim turned into a bad city. Yes, it was terrible. However, stop accusing them anymore. I chose them. I am plucking them out. Yes, there was fires, there was destruction, but I am plucking them out now to pick Yerushalayim, to pick Israel. So stop accusing them. What else? Now we get a description of how Yehoshua looks. Yehoshua haya lovesh begadim tzo'im ve'omed lifnei hamalach. Yehoshua appears to be dressed not nicely. in this bigadim tzo'im, which could mean filthy garments, could be garments that are with dung on them, garments that are ripped, that are not nice. Yoshua is supposed to be wearing nice clothes. He's the Kohen Gadol. However, we see he's not wearing nice clothes. Why? Because again, it's that concept that they were bad. It was a destruction. They came back. He wasn't ready. However, Hashem says, "V'yan v'yomer el hamodim lefanav lemor hasiru begadim hatzoim elav." Take off his not nice clothes. V'yomer elav v'eh havarti melecha ovanav ve'helbesh otach mechatzot. Go and put on. Remove this guilt. Remove the concept that you are no good anymore, that you were destroyed, that you were bad. What the Satan is saying in your head, and now put on nice clothes. These priestly clothes. V'omar yasimu Sanif tahor al rosho. What should you put? A sanif tahor al rosho. Put this golden piece on his head. If you remember, some of you learned with me, some of you with others, the Kohen Gadol had two things on his head, right? What? He had a tzitz, this golden banner, Kadosh Hashem was written, and he had a mitznefet, a kind of hat, the mitznefet. So the word sanif could come from the word mitznefet, but this also, this pureness on his head, put it on, it says, go now, make him into a Kohen Gadol, how he should be. And he does that. Now he's talking to, this Malach is talking to Yoshua. And he says, if you listen to my ways, go in my paths, and fulfill all the things that you have to do, which specifically talk about the Kohen. But if you remember the word mishmeret, it's a Kohen word of the different groups of Kohanim. Also Chatzerai, talking about the Beit HaMikdash. If you're watching over it, then I am going to allow you to move among these amudim. Could be the melachim that are walking there, or the Beit HaMikdash. But if you follow my ways, I am going to be with you. You're now going to be dressed nicely. You're going to be held in a high authority. And Shmana Yoshua, now listen well. HaKohen Gadol, Ata ve're'echa, you and your friends, hayoshvim lefanecha, ki anshe mofet hema, you are wondrous people. You Kohanim who are remainder, you are wondrous. Ki heneni mevi et avdi tzemach, because here I am going to bring my servant tzemach. Tzemach is a word from a tzemach, like a growth, a branch that comes. There are different interpretations what that could mean. One, it could mean that it's just a nice thing, a nice branch. Now this Kohen is a nice branch that's coming with me. Also, it also alludes to us, Evdi Tzemach, which is my servant Tzemach, could also refer to the family of David, of Mashiach, of the new king. Okay, we have like Shorish Yishai, again in Yeshayahu, but in other places we have the concept that Mashiach is going to come from the family, the sprout of Yishai, sprout of David, and we have Avdi Tzemach. So we're going to be returning to this kingdom, which is going to come later in the Perakim of Zechariah. We're going to see what this concept could also mean. But he says, basically, Hashem is saying, I'm going to return this Kuhuna back to its glory. And now we see something very strange, another strange image that Zechariah sees, that will also get better explanations of other Perakim, but this is our first introduction to it. Not only he sees Yehoshua here, he sees Kihine ha'even asher natati lifnei Yoshua. He gives him some sort of stone or rock, and al even echad shiv'ai nayim, and there's these 7 eyes on this stone. Hineni miftach piticha nu'um Hashem tzvot mishtet avon ha'arz hi biyom echad. The single stone with 7 eyes, they're engraved with these 7 eyes, and he's showing with the stone, he's taking away the sins. It's a symbolic stone, someone with 7 eyes of Hashem, that he sees the whole entire world. But with this stone, he's removing all the iniquities, all the sins of the people, and the guilt that they felt that they can't do it anymore, that they're not worthy. And Hashem says, no, I am with you. Why? because on that day, it's going to be, the whole world is peaceful, and you're going to return to where you're able to sit under your fig tree, in your vineyard, when it's peaceful, when you don't have to worry about things. So with all the visions down, this vision is talking about the Kuhuna, specifically talking about the Beit HaMikdash, that we're going to return back to Kuhuna. As you know, in the last 70 years, the Kohanim really didn't have a job. Was no Beit HaMikdash. They were stricken from their spiritual capabilities. And Hashem now is saying he's going to return that. He's going to return the glory of the Kuhuna back to the Beit HaMikdash, back to Yerushalayim, and back to the people. Very nice. I think we can stop here, and then we're going to continue. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Rabbi, sorry. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't understand how, if the laws of Kehuna and like everything, if it wasn't being used for many years, how are they gonna end up perfecting it? Like, don't they need a mentor, or like someone to show them? Because like I know in Navi they speak to Hashem, or like they get prophecy from Hashem, but like it's not the same as someone like physically showing them what to do.
100%. You're 100% right, and that's Hashem's point here. And we see that it's in Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah both do this. They are not necessarily Nevi'im, but they are the leaders at the time, and they rebuke Bnei Israel for not knowing the ways, not knowing all the halachot. And they come and they teach Bnei Israel all the halachot, especially Ezra. He teaches all the halachot and know what to do, because at this time period now they have to go back and have to learn what they have to do. So they go and teach them. And this is exactly Zechariah's point. They weren't ready. It could also be symbolic of as they didn't know the halachot, wearing these not nice clothes. It's not, maybe he really wasn't. He was wearing fine clothes. They weren't dirty. But could also mean that they didn't know the halachot. They weren't prepared. They weren't ready. And now Hashem is saying, let's get them dressed. Let's teach them the halachot. Let's get them prepared to do what you have to do. So Hashem sends the Nevi'im, but he also has other leaders, both political, spiritual leaders, who are going to teach them the halachot. Now, at this time period, there's going to be a shift in Judaism. This is the beginning of the shift in Judaism. There's a waning of the nevuah. We see Zechariah again. He's a lower level navi. He sees this at night. He needs a malach there. He doesn't really understand it. And now, so nevuah is going down, and we see an increase in what is going to be called rabbinic Judaism, right? And Ezra and Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, right? These rabbis, group of rabbis, come together and establish laws, establish protocols, the Siddur, because they need it more concrete, because the people forgot already. The people had a better connection with Hashem. They were able to do it themselves. And Ezra and Anshe Knesset Hagdolah and others compiled things, consolidated things, and gave Bnei Israel a clear, and us today, a clear sense of what we should be doing and how we should be doing it.
When you mentioned before, I don't remember the phrase exactly, like the Zerat Semech, I forgot what it was.
Here it says it's Avdi Tzemach.
Avdi Tzemach. I was thinking right after Korach, Aaron's flower.
Yes, very good. Yes. So that's actually very good. So it's specifically for Aaron, why it became, so not only it sprouted, but it had the blossoms as well. And this connects, this is very good. This is also referring, because he's the Kohen related to Aaron, and we have that branching of from his stick. Very good. That's also that connection. Very good. Alrighty, so we're going to continue the next couple of weeks. Zechariah has 12 chapters. We're going to continue that's 14 chapters, but we're going to continue in Zechariah to see his other visions in the next parak. Just to give a sneak preview, and parak Daled is one of the most famous visions of Zechariah. We read the Haftarah as Haftarah on Hanukkah, and we get the concept of the menorah and the fig, the olive branches. and olive trees, and the semel of Yerushalayim and the state of Israel comes from Perak Dalet. So it's a big Perak, most memorable Perak. So
All right.
that's
Thank
to
you,
look
Rabbi.
forward to.
Thank you, Rabbi.